Good afternoon and good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar called Discover SherWeb Performance Cloud. I am your host, Mathieu Leblanc, Director of Partner Network at SherWeb, and joining me today is Guillaume Boisvert, our Director of Product Management at SherWeb. Hi, Guillaume.
Hi, guys.
So, today, very excited and a very, very exciting topic that SherWeb is very pleased to cover with you today. Well, let's get right into it. So, the agenda in today will cover who is SherWeb, of course. We'll cover just very briefly, spend a few minutes on this. Then we're going to hand things over to Guillaume, who's going to talk to us about Performance Cloud and really give you the meat of the matter, give you a provisioning and a performance demo of the service itself. We'll cover the architecture and the components, so basically how we built our Performance Cloud at SherWeb. Partners in attendance will be very much interested in learning the ins and outs of our secret recipe and sauce. We'll cover the monitoring, maintenance, and support aspects that are tied into our Performance Cloud offering and that we extend to all of our partners. And then we're going to hear a little bit about partner story, Jeff Buland, who is the owner at Cloud System, that's going to tell us about his Performance Cloud story. We'll cover a little promotional offer for those people in attendance today. And then I'm going to wrap things up at the end with a partner program overview. So we'll cover the general aspects of our partner programs and the benefits and value proposition that SherWeb extends to its partners to help you sell and be successful in the cloud. And finally wrapped up by a Q&A session. On the Q&A session, little housekeeping items. So there's a Q&A box within your webinar window. Feel free at any time to drop your questions. We'll try to answer them as we go through the webinar. However, it's possible we might reserve the bulk of the questions for the end of the webinar. That being said, let's tell you a little bit about SherWeb. So the first slide really covers all of the facts surrounding SherWeb. It's really a no-nonsense list of pedigrees showcasing our achievements, awards, and allocates that we garnered over the years. So if I were to describe SherWeb in a few sentences, I would start off by saying we are born in the cloud. And we were born in the cloud in 1998 and are 100% dedicated to hosted solutions. That is our expertise, and that is what we do. Since then, we've developed a partner network of over 4,000 partners that cover the entire world, of course with a strong focus here in North America, Canada, and the USA. These partners, along with our direct business, have represent over 25,000 organizations. And our staff here, all based in North America, is about 200 plus employees, many of them Microsoft certified to give you the quality of support that you expect from a world cloud provider like SherWeb. Some of the awards over the years that I'd like to highlight include Deloitte's North American Technology Fast 500, which we received 4 years in a row at SherWeb. This really shows that we have outstanding growth year over year within the IT field. Very proud of being actually the first provider in worldwide, that is, to launch Exchange 2013. This is already almost 2 years ago, but it really positions SherWeb as a true pioneer within this field and our exclusive relationship with Microsoft. And one of our best recognition happened 2 years ago and in 2014, so last year. In 2013, SherWeb was recognized as the World Hosting Partner of the Year winner by Microsoft, and in 2014 a finalist. So very proud of that recognition, and really another thanks to the entire SherWeb team and partner network for making that happen. And recently SherWeb was received the Microsoft 2-tier cloud service provider certification. That's for another topic and another day. However, go to our YouTube webinar series and you can find out all about winning in the cloud with the right value prop around Office 365 by SherWeb. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of Performance Cloud, let me talk to you a little bit about our general infrastructure. Now, these points are not necessarily specific to Performance Cloud and our infrastructure as a service. They do cover our online backup, hosted Exchange, links, SharePoint, and that kind of different offering. So really, the biggest thing that I can say is that SherWeb is a SOC 2 Type 2 certified hoster. So that means that we've implemented and follow controls and procedures around data security and confidentiality. Items such as intrusion systems, firewall, spam and virus protection, backup policies, data center, logical and physical security, and recovery procedures are in place and continuously tested. And that is what is required to be a SOC 2 Type 2 certified hoster. A second key element is really the fact that SherWeb offers a financially backed 59, that's 99.999% SLA on all of our service, including Performance Cloud. All of these services are delivered all out of our Tier 3+ data centers, all based in North America. We have 5 total, primary site in Montreal and in Ashburn, USA. So a Canadian and US data center location with disaster recovery and secondary sites in both Toronto, Markham, and Montreal, and different locations in the US. Our infrastructure is redundant at all levels, so that's really critical to provide full load balancing capabilities and failover capabilities at all times. So site A, site B, a component of site A fails, automatically that same component on site B takes over, continuing the delivery of service and maintaining our high availability. Another important aspect is really the disaster recovery procedures that are built in, and these use high availability technologies inherent to Exchange 2010 and 2013, like DAG, or Database Availability Groups, which allows us to quickly recover any item in the case of unexpected disasters. We have 4 independent security layers that really cover all aspects of our security. And finally, nothing but the best market-leading vendors are used within our infrastructure to guarantee you the best class service. And to wrap things up, really, your one-stop shop cloud provider should be SherWeb. As you can see here from this slide, there's a wide list of services, whether they be under SaaS, IaaS, or PaaS, that are available at SherWeb. Without getting into each, what I can tell you is that every single one of these services is provisionable within your partner portal at SherWeb. Within that same interface, you can manage your current account, create new ones, and deploy any one of these services to your clients while maintaining and managing your billing and invoicing aspects of your relationship with SherWeb.
Maybe a quick word on a couple of points. Office 365 listed in there. This is obviously not the webinar for that, but we'd like to sort of highlight it. And if you have any Office 365 business, definitely want to talk to SherWeb. Veeam Cloud Connect is one I'll be talking about a bit later, as well as cloud databases are 2 new offers from this year at SherWeb.
Thank you, Guillaume. So you can see the roadmap, or the line card of services, is expanded on a regular basis. So sign up to SherWeb, and I'll get to the partner benefits in a few minutes, or at the end of the presentation. It's a free, no obligation sign up, and that simply allows you to hear about the news and what's going on SherWeb and the value that we continuously provide and push to our partners worldwide. So on that note, Guillaume, the show is yours.
Thank you very much, Mathieu. That was a very good presentation of SherWeb. All right, SherWeb Performance Cloud, you've heard the name. You might be familiar with the offer a little bit, or you may not. We'll take a couple seconds to explain to make sure everybody understands what it actually is. It is, at its core, self-managed infrastructure as a service. So the basic building block of infrastructure as a service are present, cloud servers, virtual networking. We offer self-managed backups as well as cloud databases. Cloud databases is a new offer from earlier this year. It's getting a lot of traction, a lot of interest. It is a great way to get access to MS SQL Server 2014 Enterprise databases with just a fraction of the cost. I'm sure a lot of partners that are on this webinar are familiar with the cost of licensing SQL, Microsoft SQL. This is a great way if you have some clients that require all the features of SQL, but maybe you're not interested in paying the full cost. This is a great way to get into it, and I will touch on that a little later in my demonstration. So SherWeb Performance Cloud is infrastructure as a service. It offers all the advantages of the cloud. It is a full-featured infrastructure as a service, so pay-as-you-go, hourly billing. Actually, it's a bit of a mistake here. So basically what that means is we measure what kind of resources you're currently provisioning and using, and we charge you for those. It has self-provisioning portal. It has true elasticity, so that means get rid of your capacity planning exercise and all that and simply provision what you need. If you make a mistake in capacity, you can fix that in a matter of minutes. We offer full Windows and Linux support. The cost of the OS is included in the server and the prices that you see on our websites. As Matthew mentioned, 99.999% uptime. Financially backed, so we have to pay you if we don't meet those SLA levels, those service levels. I'll touch more on how we achieve 99.999% in just a bit. The idea here with Performance Cloud is not to, we don't want to pay out penalties. What we want is for your business to be running all the time. And we also offer API access. So if you want to code against our Performance Cloud, you can do that and automate a lot of tasks. Or if you want to integrate it into your control panel, that is possible as well. Again, mentioned before, but if you have questions, don't hesitate. We'll get to them as soon as possible. So infrastructure as a service is nice. It is not a new thing per se. How does the Performance Cloud stand out against our competitor? So what we saw when we were preparing to go to market and when we were talking to our partners and everything, we saw that there was a lack of performance from the offering of our brand name competitors. Either they didn't have the performance at all, or like their over provisioning was way too high and the server was slow, or you had to pay extra to get access to that performance. That's what we're seeing more and more as people do offer, let's say, SSD storage or even high performance SSD storage, because they're not all created equal. But you have to pay. You have to pay per IOPS, or you have to use huge drives. At SherWeb, we wanted to make sure that any clients that uses any of our Performance Cloud resources would get very high performance, and I'll get much more into that later. The way that we saw it is performance is not just performance for performance sake. I know everybody in IT loves a fast server, a fast CPU, and all that, but it's really how you get real value as a partner. There are really two factors that make a relationship successful for a partner is the performance and the reliability. If your clients have a fast server that is up, they won't call you. They'll simply be happy to use it, and they won't be too demanding, and you can retain them forever. The other way that we stand out against our competitors is our expertise. We've been in the hosting business for 16 years. Matthew mentioned we were born in the cloud. Well, truly, we were born in the cloud before there was a cloud. In 1998, nobody talked about the cloud, but we were hosting back then. So hosting is in our DNA. That's what we know how to do. If you look at our Exchange solution, we've learned how to build massive scale virtualized environment, and that's sort of what we translated into our Performance Cloud infrastructure as a service. We mentioned hosting partner year. We are also Microsoft Cloud OS network partner, which is a limited group of partners that have shown that they know how to use Microsoft solution to build cloud solutions. So it's easy to say performance. What we wanted to do when we got into that is to get a third party to validate that statement. I won't spend a lot of time on it. What you're seeing here is one very small section of one test of those benchmarks. They were performed by a company called CloudSpectator.com, who are experts in the field of public cloud performance. What we asked them to do is to compare us to Amazon and Azure. They basically took one set of configuration as similar as possible, like same number of CPU, same quantity of RAM, same operating system, and they run a whole collection of benchmark for CPU, for memory speed, for storage. And then they basically run those for a number of days, did those graphs, analyzed the results. I'm showing it today because we'd be happy to share that document with anybody that's interested. You can talk, and we'll get into contacting us a little bit later, but you can talk to your rep, and they'll be happy to provide the document, the full document. It's 40-page long. And I just have a couple of examples here today during this presentation. This is an example of a test of CPU speed to CPUs, integer task, so people that are familiar will know, but it shows really a big difference between what Amazon and Azure offers and what SherWeb offers. One thing that I've found as a product manager when I look at my competitors is a lot of time Amazon and Azure will basically try to match each other. Well, we really try to go above and beyond. So in this particular case, this CPU test, this one isolated test, we're 50 to 60% higher than our competitor. Here's a more extreme example. This is storage performance, so it's random reads on a large machine. And again, won't spend a lot of time on it, but we can see that we are from 500% to basically 2,000% faster than our competitors. You can really see the difference. And one thing to mention, I spoke about value. This is all sort of a moot point if the price is 10 times as high, but really we are competitive with Azure and Amazon prices. In most cases, depending on configuration, we will be either the same price or a little bit cheaper. And as well as partner, you get your discounts. You get to pay a little bit less even. So this page is what I like to call a eye chart. So basically, it's just to test your vision, but also it's to show the price performance ranking for all the tests that we did with Cloud Spectators. Again, if you read the document, it will be put into context and it will be explained. But you can see that basically, when you take into consideration performance and price of the configuration that were tested, SherWeb winds up first in all the tests, but 2 where we wind up second. All this is nice and theoretical. I'd like to take a little bit of time and do a practical demonstration of our control panel and of the servers themselves. So I'm going to switch out from this. And go into our control panel. So let me just make sure that everybody can see my screen. Yes, great. This is what our technical control panel for the Performance Cloud looks like. If you're familiar with Azure, it may look similar. It is a Microsoft-related product, but I can tell you that this is running on our own infrastructure in our own data center. We'll get into that a little bit later. What I'm going to show you today very briefly is provisioning a cloud server and show you how easy it is. So if I want to create a new server, all I would have to do is go new, standalone virtual machine. I'm going to use a quick create, give it a name. As a partner, I probably have multiple organizations for which I manage the infrastructure, so I can pick between those organizations here to tell the system to which organization I want to assign this server. This basically enables you, this panel, to manage all your organization from a single pane of glass, but from a single control panel. I'm going to pick an operating system. In this case, I'm going to make it, well, you can see we have Windows Server from 2008, 2012 R2, all data center edition, and we have a few iteration of a few distribution or version of Linux. You can see here I have Windows 10 technical preview. Our partners are also testing Windows Server 2016 technical preview 2. This is kind of one of the nice things with a cloud server or infrastructure as a service is it's a good place to test different operating systems. So I picked an operating system. I'm going to give it a password. I'm going to click OK, and that's it. That is all there is to do to create a machine on the Performance Cloud. The control panel is asynchronous, so what that means is while it's being created, and we can see the machine is being created here. While it's being created, I can do other things. So I'm going to use the cooking show trick and go to a machine that was prepared beforehand and just show you what it's like. It's going to take about 5 minutes or so to provision that server. I'm going to show you when it's done. There are really 2 panels to every server. One of them is the dashboard, which gives you information about your machine. You can see here a nice graph for CPU usage, memory, storage I/O, and network I/O for different time frames and everything. You can see the configuration. So in this case, this is a 1 CPU, 1 gig of RAM, 25 gig of storage machine, very small. A few different things. It's running Ubuntu Linux, and it has one attached device, which is the OS drive. Let's say I want to change the configuration on that machine. It's very easy. I simply shut it down. So again, asynchronous control panel. So while one machine is being created, I can shut down another machine. This is really a good way to be a bit more efficient with your management. So the shutdown is done. Once it is shut down, I can show you the second panel, which is configure panel. So with the machine shut down, I can simply change the configuration to something else. So I was 1 CPU, 1 gig of RAM. I can change it to 2 CPU, 4 gig of RAM, and simply click Save. And that's all it takes to change the configuration of a machine. So for people, if some of the partners are used to working more with physical servers, this is one of the nicest aspects, that flexibility, that ease of use. I was talking about capacity planning earlier. This is where it really comes into play. If I made a mistake in how I configure a server, or if you're having giant success with one of your projects and you have a lot more traffic, a lot more users, you can really change that configuration in a matter of minutes and be back and running, and you're having a good experience. For people that are more used to virtual environment already, what you will really appreciate of infrastructure as a service in a public cloud is more the almost infinite capacity. In a private cloud, usually it's hard to get a lot of dormant capacity. Well, here at SherWeb with the Performance Cloud, we make sure we have all the capacity that you need when you need to expand. So my configuration has changed. If I want to attach additional storage, I simply click like attach disk, give it a name, pick one of our blank templates, and attach it to my server. So that's all it takes to add a new drive to a server. For example, if it's going to take a few seconds, it's going to attach a drive. When it's attached, let's say I don't want 50 gigs, I want more. I can change the storage 50 to 75, simply click OK, and that's all it takes. So as you can see, there isn't a lot of complexity to configuring or changing the configuration of a server in the SherWeb Performance Cloud. The other aspect of basic infrastructure as a service is the networking. So with the same principle that I created a server, I can create a virtual network. I'm going to go custom create in this case to show you a little bit more of the features. Again, I attach it to a specific provider. This is a good thing to know because it also shows the segregation. So one of your organization that you're managing as a partner cannot see the other organization that you're managing. Although you can all manage them from the same place, they're very well isolated and there's no security risk. I configure a DNS server. I'm going to give it internet access. I could configure site-to-site VPN between, for example, their local office and this new cloud. If you transfer some of their business applications into the cloud, for example, QuickBooks or their AD server or any of the other typical things that we see, you can create a secure VPN connection and they can keep operating basically as if they were local. It is one thing to consider when moving to the cloud and to always keep in mind the network connection. It may require your client to upgrade their network connection or at least consider the fact that they'll be very dependent on it. We have different solutions for that. We have different approaches that we propose to client and we work with them. That is one of the value-added points of working with SherWeb is we'll sit down with you, we'll talk about the solution that you want to build, we'll make sure that you have all the information that you need. After all, we've mentioned a couple of times, we were born in the cloud, it's what we do day in and day out. We work with our 4,000 partners to build different solutions. So chances are when you come along with your project, we've seen it before in some shape or form, and we can work with you to tailor our best practice solution to your specific need. Last step of creating a network, picking local address space. What that means is you can have 10 clients that all have that same 192.168 address space, and it doesn't even create a problem because it is a virtual network. So you can see the machine that I started to create when we started this demonstration is done. It took all of 5 minutes.
About that.
So that's all it takes, really, from the time that your client says, hey, I need a server for a project, to having a functioning server is 5 minutes. Just to show you so just to show you that this machine already actually exists and it's not just a progress bar in a control panel, I'm going to connect to that server right now. Obviously, this is not pre-prepared and everything, so as I have all the confidence in the world in our stuff, and I like to do these things live, a little bit of a drill. I hope that you guys enjoy it. So here we go. That went really well. So this is the server that I created 5 minutes ago. I just want to confirm, because I'm in a remote desktop session, that people can see the remote desktop session. Yeah. So there you go. This Windows server, 2012 R2 Data Center Edition, did not exist 5 minutes ago. And it is now right here, and I can start installing roles on it and everything. If I don't need it anymore, 5 minutes from now, it's going to be completely deleted and completely gone. I know we've talked to a number of clients. Whenever clients come to us and ask, like, I need to move quickly or anything like that, this flexibility is always a big selling point. Obviously, this particular server is a bit underpowered at 1 CPU, 1 GB RAM for 2012 R2, but still running just fine and operating in basically 5 minutes. So I'm going to disconnect from here. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit more about performance, and I won't have time to do the whole demo, but I want to show you two things. So here I have, and yes, I'm showing you the competition. This is Amazon Web Services. This is a machine that I created there yesterday. It is running. It is a C3 large configuration, and C3 is the processing optimized instances of Amazon. They cost a lot more than their basic setup, and they're supposed to be super high power. This is a 2 CPU, 3.75 gig of RAM machine, because they don't give you 4 gig of RAM, they give you 3.75. Not sure why. You can ask them. I had created the exact same machine, same OS and everything at SherWeb, 2 CPU, 4 gig of RAM, because we don't do 3.75. And I ran, basically what I was showing is two result window of the same test. On the right, you can see Amazon's C3 large machine. You can see by the IP address at the top, this is an Amazon IP address. And on the left, you can see the Performance Cloud machine. These are exactly configured the same. They're actually similarly priced. We're a bit cheaper than a C3 on Amazon. And you can see the test result here at the bottom. The very last number is sort of the summary of everything. And so at SherWeb, I scored a 2,500 or so. And the same machine, quote unquote, same machine at Amazon only scores 1,800. So basically, what you're put as a choice as a user of infrastructure as a service is, do you want to pay the same price for what is basically 35% less performance? So what you have to ask yourself is, same price, same quality product, everything running well, you're paying a premium of 30-35%. You can put that into a practical aspect, is when your clients reach capacity, they'll reach it 35% faster at Amazon. And it all depends on the type of usage you do. This is a good overall test. If you do a lot of drive, a lot of disk I/O, that would be called, it's things like databases and everything, that difference is a lot bigger. Like, that's when we get to that 20 to 40 times faster. That's really in disk tests. Okay, so the question now is, we've shown all this, and this is usually where it ends for most companies, say, hey, we're that much faster or that much better. What we're going to do a bit different today is we're going to show you why we're faster. I'm going to share a little bit more about how we're structured, and how we manage and run this beast. So give me just a second to get back into my presentation. Next step, I'm going to show you a little bit what the configuration of a pod of our Performance Cloud looks like. So before I go any further, the concept is the pod concept, which means what I'm showing you today, we can replicate every time we have a significant increase in usage from clients, or if we want to add another location. Basically what it means is we have a stamp setup that we can just replicate. If you guys have built infrastructure for larger projects, the thing is, things usually don't scale infinitely, and what we're promising our clients is that they will. So the way that we achieve that is that we build it in a pod configuration. So this particular pod will reach its limit fairly quickly. We have a number of them, but the thing is, we can add another pod and add another pod easily. Obviously, before we reach the limit of one particular pod, we'll already be building the next one and the next one and the next one. This is what allows us to grow, and also it means that let's say we had a major failure in one pod, doesn't affect the other pods. But each pod within itself is built with complete redundancy, and let's talk a little bit about that. Let's look at what this looks like in practice. Now, if I zoom in a little bit, you can see that we have multiple ISPs coming into every pod. That means that we have multiple providers. If one of our providers goes down, we switch over to the other provider through BGP routing. We have hardware load balancers between the different elements that are redundant. We have an IPS and firewall that monitors traffic and protects us from any attacks, DDoS type things, all that. Our core switch are, sorry, our core switch are 10 gigabit switch. We've done it again. And then we get to what I would call our compute clusters, which is a number of compute. One question that was asked is, what is the virtualization software that is behind this technology? We use the Microsoft stack. We're a partner with Microsoft. It's where exercise the most, so we had a bit of an inclination to go with it. And it's been progressing really well, and it does things that are very impressive. The sub question was there a conversion possible from VMware to Hyper-V? I'll get to migration in just a little bit, and I'll talk about that. But just to steal my own thunder, the answer is yes, you can definitely come from VMware to the Performance Cloud. So, redundant cluster. The cluster is built in the N+2 configuration, which means that obviously these graphics are desktop machines and they don't represent our servers too well. Actually, to be completely transparent, and that's what I'm hoping to do today, we use Blade servers from Dell. So we have big chassis, and in those we can easily add Blade servers. Those Blade servers are built with Intel CPUs. We use high megahertz count CPUs. The reason for that is most of our competitors go for very high core count, but very low megahertz. The reason to do that is to consume a lot less power, and they can over-provision those configurations a lot more. We wanted to make sure that your performance, even if you get a single CPU or if you get a single thread application, we wanted your performance to be good, so we went with very high megahertz frequency CPUs. Our storage is through scale-out file server clusters. Again, a lot of redundancy built in, and our virtual network is through a technology called NVGRE. Again, in a completely redundant infrastructure, redundant pods. Basically, what I'm saying is very redundant. It's basically every component is redundant through the whole stack.
Yeah, we had I'm sorry to interrupt you, we had a question that was, what happens when the physical server that a VM is running on goes down?
Well, that's a good question. So, what I was saying just a minute ago is we have more servers than we need running our workloads, and that's what N+2 means. N+2 means I can take down a server for maintenance, part of one pod like this. I can take down a server for maintenance. I can lose another server to hardware failure, which still happens, and it won't impact the machine of my client. So what happens exactly when one of the physical server goes down is what happens is a live migration. So the cluster will realize that this particular host is not healthy anymore. So it doesn't need to even completely go down. As soon as it doesn't look healthy, and I'll talk a little bit about monitoring, but as soon as it goes bad, quote unquote, it will migrate every VM from that machine to an available healthy host, and things will keep going. Basically, the impact to client, usually that we've seen in practice, is 1 or 2 ping might be lost. So let's say you were hitting the server with thousands of hits, you might lose a couple of hits while it's being migrated. But you don't, the partner, the client, doesn't have to take any action. This is all automated. As soon as one host has a problem, things get migrated and things keep going.
Excellent. Thank you.
Again, as we get to the back end of the compute, we have redundant fabric switches. They're fiber channel switches. Multiple paths from each switches to the controller and through the compute. You can see a little bit of a spider web of path. This is a pretty realistic representation. And then to the storage, which has multiple controllers, and each controller has multiple paths to the flash disks arrays. And those flash disk arrays have obviously multiple drives. I think each pod has hundreds of drives now. I'm not the one who racks them, so it's getting harder to tell, but it's a lot of drives. So again, we're not pretending that our hardware will not fail. Although we buy high quality brand name hardware from Dell, from Intel, from Cisco, we know that it will fail. And knowing that, we built in according to that, which means I can lose drives, I can lose a controller, I can lose a fabric switch, I can lose a compute server, I can even lose a internet service provider. And although if all those happen at the same time, you might notice a little bit, but our clients will barely notice. So that was the basic infrastructure of a pod. If you become a big client of SherWeb, you can visit our data center at some point, as we do for some of our clients. One thing of note is it is a very difficult process, and I think everybody will appreciate the fact that it's difficult. It means that we have to do background checks, you have to get security clearance, we have to organize it with the security at the data centers. Our data centers are very serious business, and you can't just walk around and snoop and go see what kind of servers are running. They are a very secure environment. We do plan to have a video that's a bit of a video tour of our data center coming in the next months.
And then you have to find the facility, which takes a secret map.
Yeah, that's it. So that invisible paint technology is pretty good. No, actually, we're happy to share the location of our data centers and who our data center providers are and who our internet internet connectivity providers are. I won't go into that today because we have a number of data center and each of them has a number of ISPs. So, but if you give us a call and we talk about it, we'll be happy to share that information. We love to be transparent. This isn't I know that infrastructure as a service can seem like a black box, and if you talk to a Microsoft or Amazon, they will definitely keep it a black box. We're at a bit of the other end of the spectrum. We'd much rather you know exactly what is running your clients and your workloads, and talk about that and make sure that you're convinced that this is the cloud for you and this is how you would build that cloud. Okay, let's talk about maintenance. How do we do maintenance? So, like I mentioned, this isn't a magical cloud. We have hardware failure. We have software maintenance. Our version of Windows are not magical versions of Windows that don't need to be patched. They still need to be patched, and we make sure that we're on top of that. The way that we do it, and the part that's important for you as a partner, is we do it in a no-impact maintenance. So we have regular maintenance schedule. We announce them at least, like our target is 10 days prior, we'll announce the maintenance. Honestly, they're always at the same time during the month. So it shouldn't come as a surprise. Even if we have something unexpected, we have in our SLA a 2-day minimum to announce any maintenance window. We only do it off hour. We do it, like I mentioned, a regular predetermined maintenance window schedule. And thanks to the M+2 architecture, the redundant path, and the live migration, I'd say vast majority, basically we aim for 100%. 100% of our maintenance will be non-impactful, meaning that you won't go down, you won't have any impact on your business. So one very specific question is asked is if our SSD storage, we have two types of storage, so all of our machines and our default storage is all SSD 100%. We do offer tier 2 storage, meaning something that uses a bit of magnetic drives and everything for a lower cost. You have to specifically request that. Otherwise, by default, you're using all SSD 100%. If you look at the price on our website, it's 40, 100% SSD. We want to make sure that by default, you get all of the performance. So the question was, is there the same redundancy? The answer is yes. We use actually the exact same SANs, exact same fabric switches and everything. Multiple drives and RAID configurations. It is just as reliable. It is simply a little bit slower and cheaper. A little bit about monitoring. So how we monitor your installation, your infrastructure, your business application is we use a combination of Veeam, PRTG, and System Center Operation Manager. There's a few other things, but those are the major ones. To give you, and I'll show you a couple of screenshots in just a second, but on top of that, we have automatic alerts and escalation. At all times, if there is a problem, a full quote-unquote full sysadmin will be called and will be on your will be on premise fixing whatever needs fixing. If there's an information needed, they'll intervene. We have local support. We don't outsource any of our support. The team, and I'll get into that in just a second. So we're talking about monitoring. This is just a general idea of what it can look like. So we're looking at ping, we're looking at host servers, we're looking at traffic, if there's any packet loss, anything like that. Even if you look at the bottom, the black and white one is a custom-made NVGRE monitor. One of our team of sysadmin, the infrastructure team, built this. We weren't satisfied with Microsoft-provided tools, and we decided we would make our own. Some of the information, honestly, has been erased from this screenshot because we don't want to show our clients necessarily IP address and all that. But each and every virtual network that is built on our on our product is monitored by something that we build ourselves and continue to improve and customize, we want to make sure that your experience is good on our product. It leads me well into our customer service, and that is one of our point of pride at SherWeb. We have a dedicated team of specialists for the Performance Cloud. Nothing against the people that support Exchange, but we'd like to have specialists. We have to like people that can help you right away. We feel that when partners implement client solution on our Performance Cloud, they know the basic, they have the basics covered. People aren't going to call us to reset a password or anything like that. And we wanted to make sure that we didn't give you a phone number that like 9 times out of 10 would get you transferred or escalated. So what we give you is direct access to our cloud support specialists. They're the people that have both hands directly in the product. They know how to implement it. They know how to fix the common mistakes or situation that can happen. They know what you're talking about. They're aware of what you're trying to build with the typical use cases. They do go above and beyond, if I have to say myself. Maybe you'll sense it from how I'm speaking, but it's a real point of pride, our support team, our cloud support team. We use an industry standard benchmark for the performance of our support team called the NPS, which is the Net Promoter Score. And without going into too much detail, I can tell you that the cloud support team is the team that has the highest scores continuously for client satisfaction and people that would refer SherWeb to colleagues or friends. So to cover more specifically what our customer service team can do for you, free migration support is a big one. Will be from experience, it is a common stumbling block, the migration. People want to go to cloud, they're willing, they're looking for more out of their infrastructure, and they feel that infrastructure as a service is often the solution. But what will often stop them is that migration step. We know that, we identify that, and we work diligently and for free, it's no additional cost, with our partners to make sure that their migration project go well. And that goes, it's more than just being there when you do your migration. It's sitting down with you and putting a plan together that will get you migrated in a way that your clients will be satisfied with. So whether you're migrating from on-premise physical server, on-premise virtual servers, or from a competitor, there's no problem. We have a common methodology of what we use and how we do it. For example, we use Veeam as a replication so that we can do migration with it. We use Hyper-V replica as well. And depending on the solution, we also use disk to VHD. So all those tools can be put into action to migrate you in as seamless a way as possible.
And Guillaume, I'm sorry to interrupt, but from the channel's point of view, as the director of the partner network at SherWeb, I can't, you've shown pride in the support and the customer service around your offering. I can bring to the table the comments and the feedback that I've heard from partners about the value of this migration support. So the skill set of the resources that we bring forth to allow our partners to build a comprehensive plan to get your client's application to our cloud is by far, I think, the best that a lot of our partners have seen in the industry, and allows you, our partners, to really give that peace of mind that your clients are looking for, to ensure them that their business critical applications will be moved to the cloud with the least disruption possible. And if you can provide that comprehensive total solution to your clients, you're in a position to win that deal and grow that account over time. So that's why we've done that.
And Jeff from Cloud System will talk to that point exactly. So it's even better to get someone else to mention it. We're convinced, but we'll let you hear it from someone else. One thing that relates directly to what Matthew was saying, and he's exactly right, is all of our partners can sit down with one of our solution specialists, solution architect, and design something for your client. So we can do it in two ways that we found people like, is either you come to us with your client's needs and everything, and we work behind the scene to devise a solution that they will have confidence in, and they will go, oh, this partner really knows the cloud, really knows infrastructure as a service. The other way that we can do it is just sit down directly in your meeting with your client and act as a representative from your company, and we'll be happy to say, basically to make you look good is what we're out to do, and work together to provide great solution. Even if you're just started, like let's say you're more used to physical hardware, or even if you're looking to get into infrastructure, having that assistance from a experienced provider is really a difference maker. It will really accelerate your implementation of infrastructure as a service.
And really, to confirm, and someone asked a question, that migration support and onboarding consultation service is really available whether the client's application be hosted or on-premise. But specifically, we will build a plan for you, whether you're on AWS or Azure present. So
yeah.
It applies to really all platforms.
Basically, we haven't really run into a situation where we couldn't migrate somebody. Obviously, there's specificities to each case, but we've never run into an impossible task so far. Actually, Azure is one of the ones that it goes really well. Okay. Yeah. I'm not going to explain this in detail. We have a new product. It's called VM Backup and Disaster Recovery with Veeam Cloud Connect. If you're familiar with Veeam and you use it on-premise with your clients, it's something that you implement or you're looking to implement, you should really talk to your partner rep here at SherWeb or get a partner rep here at SherWeb, as we can offer remote storage, so the ability to do offsite backup for almost no cost at all. But even on top of that, we can restore VMs that are backed up to our Veeam Cloud Connect into our Performance Cloud as running VMs. So basically what that means is Performance Cloud can become your cold disaster recovery site for free. And if people are familiar with disaster recovery, having a cold disaster recovery site for free is a big deal. We're running out of time a bit today, so I will jump ahead. So I wanted to make sure we kept time for questions, but also I wanted to make sure I kept time to hear from Jeff at Cloud System. To be completely transparent and not trying to hide this is pre-recorded. Jeff had prior commitments at this particular time, but he wanted to make sure that we recorded his opinion of SherWeb and his experience. So this is about a 5-minute recording. Here's Jeff from Cloud System.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Guillaume, and listeners for having me today. So Guillaume asked me to share a few things about my interaction with SherWeb over the last, I think it's about a year that we've been working with SherWeb. Our company was born in the cloud, raised in the cloud, and we continue to grow in the cloud. 5 years ago, when we started, the cloud is almost unheard about. Many people didn't understand it, didn't know about it, so it was a bit of an uphill battle to get going in the cloud. But I'm a huge advocate, and we'll continue to do that. So our purpose is to remove the traditional networking and the traditional servers out of the offices and push everything into the cloud, so that users can have whatever device they want in their hand, in whatever location they want to be in, and have access to their office. As my wife says, it allows people to work 24 hours a day, which isn't necessarily the best thing, but they have the option to work at the cabin, in the car, at Starbucks, or, of course, in the office. So the other thing that we're finding here is not only are organizations ready to embrace the cloud, they're actually asking for this now. When I go to the functions and things that I go to, of course, you get talking as to what you do, and like, where were you 6 months ago when we spent however many dollars on our server? So when I first started the company, I had all of my own equipment, my own hardware. We had it all stored in a colo. So I'm paying monthly rentals on the colo, and of course the upkeep and the maintenance of all the servers, and having to hire techs and keep that going, because in my company I'm just the good-looking guy. I'm not the smart guy. I hire smart people to keep things running for me. But of course it came up realizing that our equipment was starting to have failures. We had outages, and it was time for a refresh. So after we did some cost analysis and looked around to see, okay, what's the investment going to be on new equipment, new hardware, and again, having the labor to put that together, buying the virtualization software, et cetera, it just became a huge expense. And so we looked around, and at the time, there was only a handful of very few providers that had something that we were looking for. We started using a different provider that had what we were looking for. And it was running quite well with that until I found SherWeb. Again, we were ready for a change. We needed to upgrade some of our servers, and we're looking again, is there something else out there? So that's when we found SherWeb. They were very extremely helpful in moving our servers, migrating from where we were into the new into their facility, along with their Exchange hosting services and some of the other features that they offer. So we've been very happy with that. The migrations have been very streamlined. Working overnight, they provided some software to convert a traditional server into a virtual server, and once it got to SherWeb, they did what they needed to do. We were down for probably, I know, less than 24 hours, and some of them were only 4 to 6 hours from the downtime that we turned off the old server and had the new server running. Many of the servers that we have are running as terminal servers, so users just remote into a remote desktop and do what they need to do. So we've been. The other thing, we noticed quite an improvement in the performance of the servers. Very few service calls or things, and generally it's because they have the client has a poor internet connection and there's a local hardware problem versus something to do with the server. So all in all, we're quite happy with it. We will continue to do business. Another thing that I forgot to mention is we've also used the servers as a sandbox or a test server. Some clients have like a custom piece of software or an aging piece of software that their current infrastructure can't run, and it's not compatible with newer software, such as Server 2012 or even Windows 8, etc. So we're able to put that software onto a demo sandbox, run it, make sure it works, and then we can make the decision if that's what the client wants to do and continue running that. So as I said, we're quite happy with SherWeb, and we'll continue to work with them in the future.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, so that was Jeff Bulens from cloudsystems.ca, one of our good partners who's found a lot of success migrating from one of our competitors, which trying very hard not to name, to Performance Cloud. So one thing of note for the people that are attending this webinar, if you contact us, we have a promo running in July, which for any new organization you're going to create, we're going to give you $100 a month for 3 months of free services. There is no catch or particularities or anything. Basically, we reduce your bill of Performance Cloud for each organization by $100 per month for 3 months. To get started, just contact us. We'll talk a little bit more about contacts in just a second. This is what I had for the Performance Cloud. I'm going to pass it back to Mathieu Leblanc, who's going to talk a little bit more about the partner network. And we're going to come back for quick Q&A afterwards, running out of time, but we'll try to make some space.
Thank you, Guillaume. Very interesting stuff, and I will make it brief. Really, if I had to summarize the SherWeb value proposition, is really giving partners all of the aspects that they need to enhance your value and your benefits to your clients. So every feature, benefit, or value prop that we've inserted into our partner program at SherWeb has always been with the mindset to help you be more competitive, to be in a position to enhance your own offering to your clients. So with that in mind, we've really built 3 partner programs: a reseller, which is a white label program under which SherWeb is completely invisible to your clients, a distributor program, which is a co-branded solution, and an advisor program. Generally speaking, the reseller and distributor program are very similar, meaning you own your client, you have fixed partner costs from SherWeb that go down based on your monthly recurrent revenue. So as your MRR increases with SherWeb, you achieve additional performance tiers, and discounts are applied to your entire invoice by SherWeb. So you own the billing, you set your margin, and you own that customer relationship, and you can put your brand front and center under the white label program. The only difference between the 2 programs is really around the technical support. So if you are in a position to not want to take on the burden and responsibilities of providing first-level support to your clients, you can offload that responsibility directly to SherWeb under the distributor program. So your clients will call SherWeb 24/7 without any restrictions to the technical support, phone, chat, and email, and will provide technical support directly to your end customers, and will do so at no extra cost to you. So if I were to compare those 2 programs with the advisor program, the advisor is more your traditional referral model where you send a client to SherWeb, that client belongs to SherWeb, we'll onboard him, we'll bill him, and we'll give you a back-end commission for that referral, 150% one-time commission, and then a recurrent 7% monthly commission for the life of the account. So on that note, I'll just say that the enablement process at SherWeb has been tried and tested, but we're still enhancing it. Any partner at SherWeb, new or old, has the ability to access videos, training guides, personalized training sessions to enable your sales and technical teams to effectively sell, provision, and support our services. So we have invested in an enablement process to make you active. We don't want you to wait and be opportunistic and wait for your opportunities. We want to give you the skills, the tools, and the confidence to go out there and close some business.
Very good.
Not bad, huh? Under a minute and a half, I think.
Yeah, and every time I hear that partner program description, I want to quit my job and just become a SherWeb partner. This is dangerous. So if anybody has any questions, need anything from us, want to become a partner, which would be a great idea, you could contact partners@sherweb.com. You have a phone number here. I believe we're going to send a link to the recording to everybody that was registered. Yeah. So if you missed anything, or if you want to have more information, if you want to study our infrastructure so you can copy it, this will be sent to everybody, and we'll be happy to talk to you if there's anything. I'm going to answer there's a couple of technical questions about bandwidth and hybrid scenarios. I have great answers for those, but we've ran out of time. So all I can say is please contact us. We do have answers to those questions, recommended solutions and things like that. There is a lot of flexibility with the Performance Cloud. That is one of the reasons you would come to SherWeb is two things. There is a lot of flexibility. We're willing to do a lot of things, and we can do a lot of things. And two, we'll help you figure out which one of those things is the right one for you. The one question I will answer is we were asked if we were going to be at WPC, the partner conference from Microsoft in Orlando in a couple of weeks. I will be present, as well as a couple more people from SherWeb. So if you see us, or if you have something there that you'd like to sit down with us and talk about a partnership, please do contact us, and we can make it happen. So in closing, thank you very much for coming. We were very happy to share about our Performance Cloud, how it's built, how it's worked, what it can do for you. And we hope that you'll come to us with your projects and questions and opportunities, and we'll work together on them.
Thank you, everyone, and have a good afternoon.